Here are 5 myths about compatibility that are quietly destroying your marriage. And the worst part is that most couples believe them. Some years into our marriage, I started to feel like we had grown away from each other. I thought that we were just not compatible anymore, but I'm glad I believe in second or third chances because my perceptions turned out to be wrong. In this video, we're going to walk you through those 5 myths. And if your relationship feels stuck right now, one of them could be the reason why. If you're new here, I'm Ryan. I'm on the autistic spectrum, and Lori and I talk about building stronger relationships, the kind that actually work for how your brain is wired.
And I'm Lori, Ryan's wife. I have ADHD. And what we share here comes from our own experiences. 23 years of marriage, most of them part of our learning journey.
We've had to learn a lot of this the hard way, and this is what actually helped us.
We're not therapists or counselors. We're just sharing what worked for us.
If you're already wondering whether what's happening in your relationship is about compatibility or something else entirely, we have a free quiz that can help you figure that out. It's called the Relationship Friction Quiz, and it helps you pinpoint where your specific tension is actually coming from. The link is in the description below. So go grab it and come back and watch this because it'll make a lot more sense once you know your pattern. Myth number 1, if you're compatible, you should enjoy the same things.
I thought I married the strong, silent type, and that's fine. I was okay with a lot of Ryan's quietness early on, even though I thrived on conversation. I love theater, storytelling, movies, art, getting completely lost in the different world. And just because a person loves movies or reading, it doesn't mean they're lazy. It means my brain loves that immersive, imaginative thinking to rest, focus, or recharge. Ryan is more go, 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 thinking, building, managing, fixing, living in his own headspace. Our interests almost seem to be opposites.
And from my side, early on in our marriage, I thought we were compatible. We'd go on road trips together, we'd go exploring, we'd go camping, we'd go hiking, we liked similar music, we had the same values, and things felt pretty aligned. Then the kids came, and I kept camping and hiking, often without Lori, because someone had to stay with the kids, and that somebody was her. And that went on for years. And gradually, without either of us fully noticing it, Lori just stopped being part of that chapter of my life. She wasn't fighting to come because she needed to be home, and I wasn't fighting to bring her because I felt like I needed to get away. And it wasn't until years later that I looked up and thought we don't really share much anymore. And I blamed that on incompatibility when really I had just slowly left her out.
As the years went on, I started looking around and wondering what we actually had in common. When I thought he wasn't interested in talking to me or spending time with me, there were times I thought, well, he's loyal, but so is my dog. That's not exactly a roaring endorsement for a marriage.
That's fair.
Yep, and I say it with love, but I was measuring compatibility by sharing hobbies and shared activities, and that's the wrong measure. The real question isn't whether or not you like the same things. It's whether you feel secure, understood, and at ease with each other.
And that's what I've learned. Lori's strengths and my strengths are actually very different from each other. And those differences have served our family in ways I didn't see coming. Her strengths and talents benefit both of us. She is far better with kids and with communicating and teaching them than I am. I tend to get dysregulated easily, and when things got hard with our kids, who are also neurodivergent, I often needed to step back before I made things worse. Lori could stay steady in those moments. I bring structure, planning, the detail and orientedness. She brings flexibility and warmth, and we're not the same, but we actually balance each other in ways that make a real difference.
We've learned that we don't have to be deeply interested in the same types of activities. Ryan's talents and interests, even when he doesn't include me, bring so much into our marriage. He can fix almost anything. We don't have to call a repair person very often. What he has as interests, talents, and strengths are sometimes things I wouldn't imagine trying to do for fun, like being under the hood of the car. Between the interests and between his interests and mine, we've got a lot more skills and talents, which when you think of us both completing one another, we're in pretty good shape.
Once we realized that, we also knew we could still be deeply interested in spending time with each other. And that's what brought us back, choosing to be involved in each other's lives, even when the specific thing isn't your thing. For example, I may have watched a few too many superhero movies for my tastes, but
but I know he watches them with me because he loves me. Myth number 2 is if you're compatible, you're supposed to be having fun most of the time. And if it's not fun, something's wrong. I want to push back on this one hard because I think ADHD brains think and thrive on fun. But this myth creates a lot of pressure that serves nobody. Being neurodivergent means there's already a higher than average amount of invisible work happening just to get through the regular day. Ryan's managing his sensory environment, his routines, his energy. I'm managing my focus, my emotions, trying to remember that the laundry exists. But by the time we're in the same room together, neither of us is at our sparkliest.
And fun, when it happens, is genuinely great. We do have fun together, but the expectation that it should be constant or frequent, that's just not realistic for anyone, and especially not for us. What actually matters more is feeling at ease with each other, feeling like you can exist in the same space without it requiring an effort, feeling like you're not bracing for conflict. When that's there, the fun tends to follow. When you're chasing fun while missing that foundation, you'll keep coming up short.
Compatibility isn't entertainment, it's alignment of core values, of life goals, of how you want to live. The fun is a bonus, and sometimes we have it, but it's not what holds a marriage together. To my fellow dopamine seeking ADHDers, you can't toss a person off to the side like they're a toy you got bored with. If your spouse can't match your interest, your energy, your need for an adventure, use your time to do these things. Be true to yourself. My love for being involved with theater has given me the sense of thrill, and Ryan doesn't have to be along for the whole ride. He can show up and cheer me on when the curtain rises. Just be sure that your other interest isn't someone that would lead you away from your spouse. This hasn't happened to us, but I have ADHD friends where someone else new and shiny is more attractive than your spouse. It is always a choice, but if a lasting marriage is your goal, that I guarantee will not align you with your partner.
And when it comes to alignments, what makes it hard is when you generally don't understand why your partner does what they do. Which brings us to myth number 3. Myth number 3 is if you were really meant for each other, you would just understand each other without having to work for it.
This one did real damage for us because I needed to feel loved, that quality time together, and Ryan didn't need that in the same way I did. Lack of compatibility was what I was blaming it on, and then I had an aha moment that I wanted to share with you because I think it might help some of you if you are in a relationship with a person on the autistic spectrum. I knew about something called parallel play. It's what kids with autism do. Instead of playing together interactively, they play alongside each other. They're in the same space, doing their own thing, and that shared presence is what feels connecting for them. There's companionship in it without the pressure of constant back and forth. And one day I thought, wait, Ryan does this. He's not a child, but he does this. He doesn't need us to be in conversation to feel close. He needs us to be near each other. And if I'm doing something beside him, even without a lot of talking, that is still a quality time to him. And that is still a connection. I realize that I too can be connected with this type of connection.
And when Lori understood that, something really did change. She stopped interpreting my quietness as distance, and I stopped feeling pressure to perform a kind of closeness that doesn't come naturally to me.
What I thought was a problem became an actual solution. And that reframing changed everything. So if understanding your partner feels hard right now, don't take that as a verdict on your compatibility. Understanding each other's brains is literally neuroscience, and it's a developing field. Give each other grace. You learn as you go.
And if you find that you and your partner keep misreading each other, where one of you says one thing and the other hears something else entirely, we have a free guide for that. It's called What I Mean versus What You Hear, a translation guide for couples. It gives you a simple framework for catching those misreads before they turn into conflict. You'll find the link in the description. Myth number 4 is if you were truly compatible, the little things wouldn't bother you so much. I'll say this plainly. For neurodivergent couples, this is completely false, and believing it will make everything harder. I need things clean and put away. I process my environment partly through the visual order of it. When things are out of place, it creates a kind of low grade static that I can't quite fully explain, but I feel it constantly.
Plus, object permanence with ADHD is real, which means Ryan putting away something to help me actually is me losing it. And I have looked Ryan directly in the eye and asked, "Did you move that thing?" With complete sincerity, while also slightly suspecting I was losing my mind.
The kitchen is a particular adventure. I'd clean up, sometimes within minutes of Lori putting something out without knowing she was actively using it. And she'll come back and think she's been gaslit by the countertop.
I'm not accusing the countertop, I'm accusing you.
I'm not trying to gaslight anyone.
I know. I know. But here's the point. Those friction points aren't signs that we're wrong for each other. They're signs that we have different neurological needs, and we have to learn to respect them instead of overriding each other. The friction isn't the incompatibility. The friction is the signal that there's something to understand.
Yeah, so we set boundaries and worked out real compromises. Me learning to ask before I tidy, Lori finding a few spots where things can stay visible and I don't touch them. Small practical adjustments, but they came from understanding each other and not just from tolerating each other.
Here's the myth number 5. This one is sneaky because it's partially true, which makes it easy to misuse. The myth is if you share core values and life goals, the relationship will sustain itself. And look, yes, those things are foundational. Without them, you're in real trouble. But a foundation isn't the whole house, and a house you never tend to will eventually crumble. Ryan and I have always shared our core values. Faith, family, commitment, honesty, those have never been in question. And for too long, I think we assumed that meant that we were fine. The big stuff being intact meant that the rest would just take care of itself.
So here's a story to exemplify this. We had a ficus tree once. I put it on an automatic watering system, so we figured it was handled. We didn't need to think about it. But sometimes the tubes would get clogged, and we had no idea because the system was there and was supposed to be doing the work. By the time we noticed anything was wrong, the leaves were all falling off. A relationship is like this tree. Even though the water, basic foundational values, was there, without tending to it regularly, you don't see the problems until there is visible damage.
Regular nourishment, the small moments of actually choosing each other, of reaching out in ordinary moments, stopped. Perhaps a tree or the relationship can survive on a drip, but it will never thrive. Without regular connection, how do you even know when the basics have stopped flowing? It's not enough to rely on the automatic system. Regular attention, real engagement, finding things you enjoy together, giving each other space when that's what's needed, being strategic about the balance. That's what keeps a relationship connected and healthy.
That sounds like a lot of work and effort.
Yep. Anything worth having is worth working for. When I try to get past feelings of incompatibility, I think about what actually brought us together in the first place. Those things didn't really go away, but sometimes we just stop paying attention to them.
Compatible doesn't mean effortlessness. It means you figure out how to keep tending to each other, and that is something you can absolutely learn to do. So here's what I want you to think about. Which of these 5 myths have you been living by without even realizing it? Which one hit closest to home for you? Drop in the comments below. We read every one, and it generally helps us understand what to talk about next.
And if you're sitting there thinking, I'm not even sure where the friction in our relationship is actually coming from, we have something that can help.
So we built a free relationship friction quiz. It helps you identify where your specific tension is coming from in your relationship because it's usually not where you think. And once you know that, you have a real place to start to fix it. The link is in the description below.
If compatibility has felt like the problem in your relationship, we want to say this clearly. It probably isn't. There was something that brought you together, wasn't there? That didn't disappear. What you've been calling incompatibility is most likely 2 people with different wiring, different needs, and not quite enough understanding of each other yet.
And that's workable. That is something you can actually change.
Start with shifting your perception about one of these myths, just one, and see what changes for you.
Now that you know it probably isn't a compatibility problem, you might be wondering, okay, so what is actually going on between us? Why do we keep missing each other even when we're both trying?
That's exactly what we break down in the video right here. There. It walks us through what autism and ADHD actually look like inside a marriage.
When you pair that with what you've learned in this video with what's in this one right here, a lot of things that used to feel confusing start to make a lot more sense. Thanks for watching, and remember,
Even neurodivergent couples can develop strong relationships.